I already told the people at the reception earlier, but I will tell all of you now. The most important question that people ask is there another book? And yes, there is. There is a book 9. The next question is, when is that coming out? Of course, the answer is, going on previous history, probably about 6 weeks after I finish writing it. As to when I will finish writing it, that's a little more problematical. I finished writing Moby, written in my own heart's blood, on April 15th, which was my drop-dead deadline. They said, if we're going to publish it the first week in June, you cannot finish it any later than April 15th, or we'll have to move it to Christmas and everyone will die. I said, we're kind of catastrophic in their thinking. And actually, every single time I finish a book, it's a Chinese fire drill, and you'd think they'd be used to it by now, but no. Anyway, so I did, and we then had the Chinese fire drill, where we exchange, copy edits and German translations, and it's just this whirlwind of paper for about 3.5 weeks, and then I send it off and relax for a few days. Actually, my husband took me to Disneyland to decompress, which was perfect. But anyway, then I returned just in time to start the promotion. The book came out the first week of June. I was in Seattle 2 days before that doing a fan retreat for 500 people who had all paid for the privilege of spending an entire day with me and getting Moby 2 days early. But we had a lot of fun. It was intense. And anyway, then I was gone for the entirety of the summer. I was just gone. I did 3 international book tours in the US, Canada, and the UK. We did, the show launched in August, and we did bi-coastal premieres in San Diego at Comic-Con and in New York at the 92 Street one. I'm smiling because I can't remember that one without thinking of Sam Heughan's rear end. Well, Sam and I have been friends since he was cast, which was well before he was announced, so for more than a year and so forth. And we talk all the time via email and Twitter and all that. And at one point, when they were shooting the wedding scene, or the wedding episode, he'd come back a couple of weeks later and he said, we had to go back and reshoot, the actual ceremony because Ron thought it wasn't romantic enough and we should have more candles. So they did it with about 1,000 more candles, and it was much more romantic. But he was telling me that the wedding scene was even more tedious than the gathering, which I had been in, and I knew how tedious that was. And I said, yeah, I can tell from the number of takes. They send me the footage that they shoot each day called dailies, which is fascinating to watch. But you get 2 hours of this footage, and about 30 seconds sometimes will end up in the final episode. So you never know how much of what you're seeing is actually going to be included, or what shot they'll take and all that. And they don't send me what are called closed set stuff, which is where people are naked, because well, just they want to keep the people who actually see that stuff to a minimum, lest it find its way out onto the internet and be wandering around the world. Yeah. So anyway, so I had not seen some of the sex scenes from that until they sent me an early cut, which they had just done when Sam was telling me about the reshooting and all that, and how he didn't know what it looked like. And I wrote back and I said, I've just seen the studio cut of that. It looks great and so forth. And I added the next message. I said, honesty compels me to add that you have one fine ass, man. And being Sam, he laughed and said, thank you. I said, now mind you, this is not crude objectification nor yet sexual harassment. I said, it's a cool and reasoned objective aesthetic appreciation. That was funny. So anyway, we're doing an interview after the premiere in New York with all of us on stage, and the moderators were asking questions. Then they opened it up to the audience, and one person asked me specifically, what scene that I had seen, or what episode had the most visceral impact for me. And but anyway, I said, well, like everybody else, the wedding scene is really important and really beautiful, and it's done so gorgeously. It's very tender and romantic, and the acting is spectacular. The camera work is just fabulous, and it's really a very moving experience. And I was, and said, yeah, no, I'm going to do it. And I said, but as far as visceral impact, and I turned to Sam and said, honesty compels me. Which was warning, because I knew the minute I said honesty compels me, he knows there's a hot potato head in his I said again, one fine-ass man. And Sam, he took 5 seconds, got up and high-fived me. So anyway, that's why I can do that. But that was, I mean, it was a really interesting summer, all things considered. It's been one weird year, I'll tell you that much, but fascinating. So anyway, that was the long answer. The short bottom line is that I have barely begun scratching the surface of book 9. I've only been, home for maybe 6 weeks, and it takes a little while just to get all the trash off my office floor, or something like that. So it'll be a while, but maybe not more than 2-3 years at the most. It could be a lot worse. And meanwhile, I have been working right along on the Outlandish Companion Volume 2, which is almost done. And thank you. And we are also doing revisions to the Outlandish Companion Part 1 to include stuff about the TV show and other stuff, and remove some of the obsolete things. So I believe our plan at the moment, assuming everything goes right, and it's nonfiction, so it is easier to make things go right, will probably be for the revised Companion 1 to come out, around March or April of next year, and the Volume 2 a few months later toward the fall. So you will get books next year. Thank you. Well, you have been a lovely audience, and I look forward to signing your books. I don't know if they told you yet what sort of logistics they plan. I should probably turn this back over to Erin, just in case she needs to give you stage directions or anything. But thank you so much.